You wake up on your birthday. No fanfare, no excitement. You scroll past the notifications, make coffee, and go to work like it's Tuesday. And you feel nothing. Maybe relief. Your friends ask what you're doing to celebrate. You shrug. Just another day. They laugh, thinking you're humble. But inside, there's something else. Something quieter. Something you've never named. This isn't about being low-key or introverted. Psychologists have noticed something darker in people who genuinely feel nothing on their birthday. A disconnection that runs deeper than preference. A wound that's been dressed up as personality. Let's talk about what's really happening. You don't want expectations. Birthdays come with pressure to be happy, grateful, seen. But what if you learned early that being seen meant being vulnerable, being hurt? What if visibility felt dangerous? Picture this. You're 7 years old. Your birthday party is planned, then it's canceled. Or worse, it happens but feels hollow. The adults are fighting in hushed voices in the kitchen. The cake is there, but no one's really present. No one's truly there for you. You blow out the candles and make a wish you already know won't come true. And right there, in that moment, you learn something you'll carry for decades. Celebrations are performances, disappointment dressed up as joy. So you stop expecting, you stop wanting. You tell yourself it's fine, just another day. In developmental psychology, this is called emotional invisibility. When your feelings were consistently overlooked as a child, when your needs were treated as inconvenient, you stopped expecting to matter. Birthdays became reminders of that absence, not of what you have, but of what you've always lacked. But here's where it gets more complex. Not everyone who skips birthdays has the same wound. There are 3 distinct psychological profiles, 3 different reasons people vanish on the one day they're supposed to be seen. First, there's the disappeared. You avoid your birthday because acknowledging it means acknowledging you exist. And existing means taking up space. Something you were taught, subtly or directly, you didn't deserve to do. Maybe you grew up in a chaotic home where attention meant danger. Maybe you had a sibling who was sick, troubled, or favored, and you learned early that your role was to fade into the background, to not need, to not want. Your birthday feels like a violation of that unspoken contract, so you erase it. Then there's the controller. You treat it like a normal day because you're in charge. No surprises, no letdowns, no obligations. This is about fear dressed as independence. You've been disappointed before. Maybe people forgot. Maybe they remembered but got it wrong. Maybe the celebration felt performative, shallow, like checking a box. So now you control the narrative by removing it entirely. If there's no expectation, there's no chance of pain. You call it maturity, but it's armor. And finally, there's the time trauma. Birthdays mark time passing. And for you, time is the enemy. Each year is evidence of what you haven't done, who you haven't become, chances you've lost. Your birthday doesn't feel like celebration. It feels like judgment, a yearly reckoning with all your perceived failures. So you skip it, not because you don't care, but because you care too much about what it represents. Here's what most people miss, though. It's not really about the birthday. It's about what birthdays symbolize. Being the center, being celebrated, being wanted. And if you grew up feeling like a burden, or like love was transactional, or like your needs annoyed people, then a birthday becomes a spotlight on the one person you learned to hide, yourself. So you tell people you're just not into birthdays. You make it sound like a personality quirk, minimalist, mature, above the need for attention. But underneath, you're protecting yourself from the possibility that no one would show up anyway, that no one would care enough, that the day would arrive and you'd be confronted with evidence of your own irrelevance. That's the dark truth. Your birthday indifference is a preemptive strike against rejection. And here's what makes this even more painful. Studies on social rejection, including work by neuroscientist Naomi Eisenberger, show that feeling unwanted activates the same brain regions as physical pain. The anterior cingulate cortex lights up whether you're physically hurt or socially excluded. Your birthday avoidance isn't apathy. It's a pain management strategy. You're not cold. You're protecting a part of yourself that's already been hurt too many times. But by treating it like nothing, you guarantee it will be nothing, which confirms your deepest fear. You don't matter. The cycle tightens. Year after year, you prove to yourself that you were right to expect nothing. The loneliness loop closes in. There's also a cultural layer here. Western culture glorifies birthdays as milestones of individual worth. Social media amplifies this. Everyone else seems to have elaborate celebrations, surprise parties, people who care. And when you don't feel worthy, that cultural script becomes a yearly reminder of everything you're not. Everyone else gets to matter. Everyone else gets to be seen. But you've taught yourself to disappear. But here's the part no one warns you about. This pattern doesn't stay contained to birthdays. It spreads. You stop celebrating achievements at work. A promotion feels awkward. You deflect compliments like they're insults. You downplay your wins because drawing attention to yourself feels wrong, dangerous, undeserved. You shrink from joy because joy requires belief that you deserve it. And somewhere along the way, you stop believing that. So, let me ask you something. What if your birthday indifference isn't about humility or maturity? What if it's grief? Grief for the child who wanted to be celebrated, but learned it was safer not to want. Grief for every birthday that felt empty, obligatory, or performative. Grief for the version of you who might have loved being alive, who might have felt worthy of taking up space, of being remembered, of mattering. That's what this is really about. Not birthdays, but the belief that you don't deserve to be celebrated, that your existence isn't enough to warrant attention, that love and care are things you earn, not things you inherently deserve. And until you face that belief, you'll keep treating your birthday like nothing, because treating yourself like nothing has become your default. Healing doesn't mean throwing yourself a party. It doesn't mean forcing yourself to celebrate in ways that feel uncomfortable or fake. It means sitting with the discomfort of mattering, even quietly, even alone. It means acknowledging that the little kid inside you who wanted to be seen wasn't wrong. They weren't asking for too much. They were asking for what every child deserves, to be wanted. Try this. On your next birthday, do one thing just for you. Not productive, not small. Something that says, I am here, I matter, even if I'm the only one saying it. Maybe it's a meal you love. Maybe it's a day off spent doing something that brings you peace. Maybe it's writing yourself a letter, acknowledging how far you've come. It doesn't need to look like anyone else's celebration. It just needs to honor the fact that you exist, and that your existence is worth marking. You're allowed to want to be celebrated. That doesn't make you needy. It makes you human. The people who treat their birthdays like nothing are often the ones who spend the rest of the year making everyone else feel special. You remember their birthdays, you show up, you celebrate them, because you've learned to give what you never received, and you tell yourself, that's enough. That being the giver means you don't need to receive, but that's not strength. That's survival. You've been carrying this pattern for so long, it feels like identity. But it's not who you are, it's what you learned. And what was learned can be unlearned. So, let me ask you something. If you woke up tomorrow and truly believed you deserved to be celebrated, not for what you do, but simply for existing, what would you do differently, not just on your birthday, but every day?